Hi, this is Alessio. Hope you're well. In this video, I'm going to take a quick look at the chart of Bitcoin. As you can see here on this long-term monthly chart, as you can see of BTC. And I want to just give you an update in regard to something I mentioned before that's called the kiss of death signal. Now, as you may recall, you may remember from my previous video what a kiss of death signal is. So I want to give you a quick update on this. As you may recall, in my previous video, I've already talked about the kiss of death with relation to Bitcoin, and I gave you my opinion on it. So I want to just give you once again an update on this, what's happening on this chart. As you can see here, the current chart of Bitcoin right now. Is a kiss of death likely? And if not, what could totally destroy and obliterate the kiss of death scenario? All right, guys, I think that Bitcoin is about to do something absolutely amazing and incredible. All right, guys, join me. All right, guys, welcome back. So as you can see here, this is the monthly chart of Bitcoin, a longer time frame chart. And I'm just going to pull it back a little bit so you can see it in context. All right, guys. So as you can see, from really 2021, after we hit these 69,000 levels there,
69
on the chart, then we dropped, you can see Bitcoin dropped below the 21 monthly moving average. That's essentially the criteria for the kiss of death. You can see that's what happened right there. In about May of last year, as a matter of fact, it dropped and closed below its 21 monthly EMA. Now, in case you're wondering, well, so what? Well, let me just give you a quick recap on what is the kiss of death signal. And once again, I want to review this on the chart of Bitcoin, and I want to tell you if I think it's likely or unlikely that the kiss of death is going to happen, and what could totally obliterate and destroy the kiss of death scenario, as I mentioned earlier. So let's go into this particular example. This is actually a very simple example of what a kiss of death signal would look like. So as you can see, I've already mentioned this before, but just a quick recap. After an uptrend, so after a strong uptrend to all-time highs, if the price of any market, doesn't have to be Bitcoin, it could be any market, if the price then drops and closes below its monthly 21 EMA here, then pulls back, bounces back towards the 21 EMA, the average, the monthly average, and then holds this level, in other words, pretty much moves to it, and then at about this level, the 21 EMA, then collapse and then drop below the lows that was made before the bounce. Okay, so it really has three steps to it, as you can see. The steps are quite simple, as you can see in this box. I have put in here. Firstly, monthly close below 21 EMA after all-time highs, pull back to the monthly 21 EMA, the kiss. So that's the kiss essentially, as you can see, and then drop below the lowest point. That would be here before the pullback bounce. That's the death. Okay, that's the kiss of death scenario. Now, here's a quick example for you. This is from the 2008 chart, the S&P. So you can see that this is what the S&P did in that year. Closed below its 21 monthly EMA, the 21 monthly EMA here. Okay, then pulled back to it. In other words, it rallied back, kissed it, and then essentially, kissed it goodbye. And essentially at this point, it triggered the kiss of death, as you can see. That caused a major bear market cycle. And that's the point about the kiss of death. It ushers in, when the kiss of death occurs, it ushers in or initiates a strong long-term bear market like the one we had in that year. So now we got that out of the way. Here's the chart of Bitcoin, as you can see here. So this is what happened on Bitcoin in the last several months. Now, I know I've mentioned this before, but again, let's just quickly review it. We can see that here, Bitcoin closed below its 21 monthly EMA. You can see it very clearly in May of last year. We had a nice close below the 21 monthly EMA. Then rallied back to it, finally, rallied back towards the monthly EMA, the 21 EMA on this blue line. As you can see, this happened in the last few months. Okay, and, okay, so that's the kiss. That's the kiss in the kiss of death criteria, the rules, okay, the second part of it. Now, the question is, do we have a kiss of death? The answer, as I'm sure you know, is no. We do not have a kiss of death. Because why? Because the price of Bitcoin has not, well, not yet anyway, has not taken out the lows that was made before the bounce, the lows of November last year, 15,460. Now, in other words, if Bitcoin was to take out that low at, again, this level, 15,460. In other words, if Bitcoin was to do something like this, if it was to continue a red bar, we have a red bar right now at the moment as I'm making this video. If Bitcoin was to continue giving us red bars, or in other words, a strong drop, and then trigger, in other words, by taking out the lows of November last year, or even taking out the lows of March, if it was to move down, take out the lows of March and lows of November, that would trigger the kiss of death. But as I'm sure you know already, as I've mentioned this already in my previous video, I've already mentioned that I do not think the kiss of death is going to trigger. Okay, so that scenario, that bear scenario in the kiss of death, to me is a lower probability. If you want to know why, go ahead and check out that video. I don't want to repeat the reasons here. I've given several reasons in that video as to why I do not think the kiss of death scenario is likely. I actually think it's a lower probability or quite unlikely. All right, guys. Now here's the bottom line. What interests me is this. Basically, my point in this video is quite simple. If Bitcoin wants to prove to us and show to us that it wants to trigger or re-trigger the bear market, I actually think we're in a bull market, by the way. As I mentioned, you probably know if you've seen my previous videos for the last several months, you know I've been bullish on Bitcoin, and I think that Bitcoin entered the bull market some months ago, towards the start of this year. So as I've mentioned before, I still think we are in a bull market in Bitcoin at the moment. Okay, we triggered this some months ago, but here's the bottom line. Bottom line is this, that if Bitcoin wants to show to us and prove to us that it wants to reconfirm a bear market or the kiss of death pattern, then now is the opportunity. Why? Because Bitcoin has done two of the parts, two of the criteria for a kiss of death. The close below the 21 EMA on the monthly, rallying back to the 21 EMA, as you can see here. That's two parts. And now notice it's getting rejected almost. It appears to be getting rejected from that 21 EMA. Now, let me just say that at the moment, we don't have a confirmation of that, but we're getting a red bar. My point is that if Bitcoin wants to show to us and prove to us that it wants to trigger the kiss of death and push us into a bear market again, then now is the opportunity. Okay? Because if Bitcoin is going to show to us and persuade us that it wants to move into a bear market and the kiss of death, all it has to do now is by going below this region that I mentioned already in this, as you can see here, between 20K, which is the March lows, approximately 19,500, to the lows of November. This region between 19,500 or 20K to 15,460. Okay. In other words, if Bitcoin wants to show to us that it wants to trigger the kiss of death and continue the bear market to much lower levels, then now is the opportunity, because it's essentially getting rejected or seemingly getting rejected from that 21 EMA, holding that level as resistance. If it moves below this region here that you can see between 20K to 15,460, that would trigger the kiss of death and push us into a bear market. And I would say this, as you probably heard in my previous videos, even if Bitcoin takes out the lows of March at this blue line at approximately 20K or just near that, that also would, in my view, trigger or increase the likelihood of the kiss of death scenario and the bear market situation or scenario. But let me say again, as I mentioned this, I know I've repeated this point several times in the past, I do not think that bear market or kiss of death scenario is likely. Okay, so I'm not expecting it. I'm only saying it in this particular video to give you context and to give you the overall perspective and to give you what would potentially, give you the situation that would trigger a potential kiss of death or indeed a bear market scenario. But as I mentioned before, go and watch my previous video. I've already given the reasons as to why I do not think the kiss of death scenario is likely. I've given several reasons. And also I mentioned why I remain bullish, as I continue to remain bullish on Bitcoin even now. But here's something interesting. My view is this. My view is that Bitcoin is going to soon, in the next several weeks, probably sooner, but I think in the next several weeks and months, I think Bitcoin is going to take out this high that it made right here, just near 30,000, approximately, yeah, near 31K or 30K. So watch this level very carefully. Why? Because if Bitcoin says, here's the deal. If Bitcoin says, you know what? I'm not in the mood to trigger the kiss of death. I don't care about the kiss of death. Instead, I'm going to go rally and take out this high that I made here back in April, which is approximately 30K or 31K. That means taking out that level at that prior high of April, by moving above that level, that means Bitcoin is giving us a clear signal. You know what? I'm going to go and continue the bull market, which I think we're already in right now. Again, I still think we're in a bull market in Bitcoin. Some people I know disagree, but I think Bitcoin is going to eventually do that. I think Bitcoin is going to take out that prior high we made in April in the next few weeks or months. And I think when it does that, when it goes above that level, above the prior high here, that would totally obliterate and destroy the kiss of death hypothesis, the scenario, and push us into a very strong long-term bull market. Okay, so watch that level carefully. I think that's the more likely scenario for Bitcoin, to take out that prior high we made in April, and in other words, to reconfirm and re-trigger the bull market scenario to much higher levels. And by the way, when Bitcoin does that, that essentially is like Bitcoin giving us a nice thumbs up to the bullish hypothesis. In other words, as this beautiful Iranian actress is showing to us a nice thumbs up, that's essentially what Bitcoin would be doing right now. At the moment, Bitcoin is, as you can see here in this situation right now with this red bar, okay, I think it's just making a nice pullback here, a nice healthy pullback. I don't think it's likely that we're going to take out these lows or even the November lows anytime soon. So again, I'm remaining bullish on Bitcoin. And I think Bitcoin is going to do something incredible and amazing, and I think in the next several weeks. All right, guys, one final point just to mention in this video, which is that, look, I'm not saying the kiss of death situation or scenario is impossible, that it cannot possibly happen on Bitcoin. Okay, as you know, there are no such things as certainties when it comes to any market, whether it's Bitcoin or the stock market. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm not saying it cannot possibly happen. All I'm saying is less likely. It is less probable, okay, for the reasons I've already explained in a previous video and in much other videos as well. My point simply is that if Bitcoin wants to prove to us that it wants to trigger the bear market and the kiss of death, well, now is the perfect opportunity. Because again, we're seeing a nice red bar from the 21 EMA, so let's see what happens. Bitcoin, I'm speaking to Bitcoin right now. If you want to show to us that you're going to trigger the kiss of death, well, show me what you're going to do. All right. But I don't think that's going to happen. Okay. So I'm remaining in the bullish camp. I'm maintaining the bullish perspective and outlook for Bitcoin for this year. All right, guys. So let's see what happens. And by the way, guys, if you haven't already subscribed to our videos, please do so. And again, give us a like in this video as well if you find it useful. And also, guys, make sure you watch our regular updates, our member updates as well. So if you're not a member, feel free to join us on that link you see right there. Thank you very much indeed. Bye for now.